Diddy Kong is alive. I know the entire internet has been going crazy recently, making all these crazy claims that Diddy Kong had been killed off by Nintendo. For some reason, they believe just because he's not appearing in Mario Kart World and that we haven't seen him in Donkey Kong Bonanza yet meant that he was just completely being erased from Nintendo, which is just weird anyway. I don't know why people say this when he literally was in Tropical Freeze, he was in Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and he was even added to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe via DLC, so I don't know why people are making these claims like Diddy Kong is just gone. But Nintendo has just assured us that Diddy Kong is perfectly safe and sound and could even be making a return very, very soon. Because right now you can go to your Nintendo Switch News and look, there's a picture of Donkey Kong and a new updated look for Diddy Kong. Now, it is an extremely subtle change for Diddy Kong, but he looks so much better in my opinion, it's just crazy. Now, personally, I've never really been a huge fan of Diddy Kong. I don't know what it is, I just never was a fan of his look and just, you know, I don't know, it was just something about him, and I feel like this actually makes me like him 10 times better. I don't know why. I was a little, you know, shaken on the Donkey Kong new look, and it took me a while to actually get there, but right away, Diddy Kong looks perfect, better than he ever has before. Now, a lot of people thought that he was going to get some type of radical change that looked like the mining monkeys from Donkey Kong Bonanza, which, let me tell you, I think they look horrible, absolutely grotesque looking. I just don't understand why they look like that. I think it's just that eye, lip, brow thing that just connects their eyeballs. It's very much like Donkey Kong's, but it just doesn't work for a chimp to me. But they kept Diddy Kong pretty much identically the same, but just tweaked them enough to make him look slightly different. The big difference here is his eyes. They now have a little bit of a space between them, just enough to almost give them two separate circles or ovals, and it just changes it, like I said, just enough to make him look a lot better. Something else I noticed is that you can actually see his teeth now. Yeah, he never really had teeth in any of his past versions, especially any of the renders. I think the only version that really showed some teeth was maybe a couple instances in some games and also his amiibo, but yeah, you can actually see his teeth now, which is pretty cool. But there's also another change here, and you probably didn't notice it, and it's not just the fur texture and his hand details. No, of course that's going to come with a new render, but look at his hat. He now has a little badge at the left side of his hat, well, technically his right side. Now, it's hard to see what it says, but it's probably not hard to guess, considering the fact that it's yellow letters, I would assume letters. It's probably the letters DD representing Diddy, because Donkey Kong has DK in yellow letters on his red tie. So it would only make sense for Diddy to follow, and I actually really like that. It should have been something like that from the beginning, and in fact, I kind of hope they removed that Nintendo logo from his hat, because it's kind of like fourth wall breaking, if you know what I mean. It just doesn't really make sense. I know it's nostalgic, and I know it's kind of all he's always had, so I know a lot of people might not like that, but personally, I would have just liked the letters to be on his hat and just remove that whole Nintendo logo altogether. So yes, Diddy Kong is technically getting a new look, which is pretty cool, but why? Now, this tells me immediately that's because Diddy Kong is appearing in an upcoming game, and of course, why wouldn't it be Donkey Kong Bonanza? I mean, we did see Cranky Kong already, and there's already tons of rumors and theories out there that I've covered and others have covered as well, stating that maybe even King K. Rool could be making a return, so why not the rest of the gang? I would love to see maybe even Diddy and Dixie make a return. We've even seen animal buddies, or at least types of animal buddies, returning, like the ostriches, and also we know that Rambi is making a return as well, so I would love to see Diddy and Dixie in this game, and I actually started to think about what their roles could be, and that's kind of what I want to talk about for the rest of this video. Now, we don't know much about Donkey Kong Bonanza at all. There seems to be a whole bunch of secrets left, with tons of lore things, and maybe even King K. Rool making a return, these weird skeletal alligators that look like maybe skeletal remains of the Kremling, so it's really hard to tell what's going on in this game and what the story really is, and who's going to be joining Donkey Kong in this adventure. Like I said, there's dialogue that shows that Rambi the Rhino is returning when he's talking to Cranky Kong, and we even know that Pauline, or some type of young Pauline, is going to take the stage in this game as well, but we don't know to what extent. So I guess the first question is it going to be possible to play as Diddy or maybe even Dixie Kong? I'm not sure. I feel like this game is definitely centered around Donkey Kong and this creature named Odd Rock, which is probably the young Pauline in some type of transformation that made her this rock, but I feel like this is about their story. This is not going to include probably Diddy or Dixie as playable characters, plus the whole mechanic really is Donkey Kong just beating the snot out of enemies once again, punching them, rolling into them, picking them up, throwing them, grabbing large objects, throwing them as well, and even punching and digging his way underground. I don't see how Diddy and Dixie is going to be able to do all that stuff. stuff. They're not the strong Kongs. Like, they're not meant to dig underground and do those things. Now, maybe there's small missions or segments that allow us to play as Diddy or Dixie. We did see bonus or challenge rooms, so maybe those rooms could be completed by using one of those Kongs. That'd be really cool if there's just a couple missions where you could switch off and use them for a little bit. Like, for instance, maybe there's a room where you need to use Diddy Kong's hover jets, and you need to fly to one other area by flying with his jetpack and also shooting with his peanut guns, which would be pretty cool. Or maybe there's just missions where you have to aim and blast things with your peanut gun. Or maybe you play as Dixie Kong for some missions and you have to hover to one area to the next. And maybe Diddy and Dixie would work kind of like the Mario moveset, being more acrobatic and more platforming focused, where Donkey Kong is more about climbing, digging, and punching, which would be a cool little breath of fresh air to have in between the Donkey Kong missions. But once again, I don't think this is going to be the case. It feels like this whole game was made specifically for Donkey Kong's strength in mind, especially when it comes to him mining and digging underground. Like I said though, I would absolutely love if it was just some minor missions for us to play with them, but something else they could easily just do is let them be cameos and just show us that these characters are still around in this world. We know from the story so far that this does take place in the same Donkey Kong world. This is just a far off island called Ingot Isle that Donkey Kong and these chimps have come to mine for this Banandium gem that just appeared. And we already seen creatures like those beavers called Naughty, and we've even seen kind of things that look like Kremlings. Like I said, we've seen ram beasts making return, different ostriches that look like espresso. So I'm very certain that we'll have some type of cameo of Diddy Kong in one way or another. Maybe we have to rescue him or something like that. I mean, after both countries 2 and 3, where Diddy and Dixie and then Dixie and Kitty had to rescue Donkey Kong both times, I would assume they would do something really cool like that, where you have to rescue Diddy and Dixie and maybe even Kitty Kong, which would be pretty funny. Shoot, what if they went a lot further to the point where we had to rescue every single Kong? Yeah, I'm talking about Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, all the Kongs from 64 with Tiny and Chunky. Then we got Kitty Kong and maybe even Candy Kong and Wrinkly Kong. I know she technically died, but I mean, they could throw her in there. There's a lot of other ones as well, like the game show one and stuff, and we could go through the whole list. But if they all just kind of appeared as cameos, I think that would be good enough as well. But what do you guys think? Do you think we're going to see Diddy Kong coming in a recent game, or like Donkey Kong Bonanza? Are we going to see him there? And also, what do you think of the new slight redesign? Do you like it better? Do you not care for it? Or do you just not care? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. And like always, I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.